Together we can and we will deliver it.
So he says that Labour are a government in waiting. They'll have to have an election first, and he did predict he could be Prime Minister by the end of this year. But no mention of Brexit from Jeremy Corbyn, but the Lib Dem leader Vince Cable hopes that opposition to Brexit will boost the fortunes of the Liberal Democrats after they flopped in this year's general election.
Democrats have a lot of people to persuade to get behind us, but we can do it. There's still time to offer people the choice of an exit from Brexit. There's a big opportunity to win a real cash injection for the NHS and for schools, and to win the argument for thousands more affordable homes.
So the major party leaders all preparing themselves, it would seem, for another unpredictable year in politics, although it looks unlikely we will have another election if the Conservatives have anything to do with it.
OK, thanks so much. Now 2 people have been killed as anti-government demonstrations across Iran turn increasingly violent. The protests, which began 3 days ago, are the biggest demonstrations in the country in almost a decade. Well, they began on Thursday when hundreds of people took to the streets in Mashhad, Iran's second largest city, to protest about rising prices. They then spread to Tehran and other cities on Friday, with police using water cannons in some cases to disperse the crowds. Well, yesterday, tens of thousands of government supporters marched in cities across Iran in a show support for the regime. Our senior correspondent Ian Woods joins me now, and there seems to be this increasing violence.
Well, the deaths are the most significant moment so far, and they are being acknowledged by the authorities there, although they are denying responsibility, saying that shots were not fired by the authorities, by the police or by the security forces. These were scenes in Tehran yesterday, but the social media have also shown pictures of a protester apparently being carried away from the scene of this incident in Darude on Saturday night. Now, the governor has acknowledged that the 2 people died in this and expressed a form of regret for it, but blamed what he called groups and foreign agents, enemies of the revolution, he called them. Now, it's a useful way of passing the blame, but people will still be concerned that people have lost their lives in this. It does seem that despite a lot of stern words from both the Interior Ministry and also members of the Revolutionary Guard that protests like these will not be tolerated, people are still taking to the streets. And the reason they're doing that, it seems, is because of anger over economic issues, which are then becoming more political. And while it seems the authorities will tolerate and even understand some of the anger over economic issues, and even some members of the government have expressed some sympathy that people should complain about rising unemployment and rising prices, what they will not tolerate is if it spills over into calls for the regime to go, because that will be a threat to the Islamic Revolution, and that will not be tolerated. But in terms of clamping down on it, well, how do you clamp down on a series of spontaneous protests which are breaking out all over the country? It's not like there is a national leadership which appears to be instigating these protests, so very difficult for the authorities to control it. They want them to stop, but they don't want to crack down so hard that it provokes more protests.
OK, Ian, thank you. Now, an innocent man has been shot and killed on his doorstep by police in Kansas after a hoax sparked by an online gaming route went wrong. A man was arrested 1,300 miles away over the suspected swatting case, which is when a prank caller sends armed police to someone else's address.